The field is set. Tennessee is going to be on the road in the college football playoffs at Ohio State. Reaction? Is this fair for Tennessee? That and a whole lot more to Monday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome into it. This is Locked On Vols, and I am Eric Cain. Appreciate you guys for making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. You guys know it, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about here today. Jay Stevens of Locked On Buckeyes, he's going to join us in segment 2 to get some reaction from the Ohio State side about Tennessee and Ohio State in the college football playoffs. How far has this program come? Think about January of 2021, and then think about December of 2024. Two different programs. We'll discuss that in segment number 3. And, of course, reacting to the matchup Tennessee and Ohio State here in segment number 1. A big shout out to our friends over at FanDuel, where fans can get a big return over at FanDuel. If you place a $5 bet, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to go ahead and get started today. And on Tuesday, we'll have the mailbag edition of the show, so go ahead and get in your questions, your comments, your concerns over there at Locked On Vols, at _Cainer, and at Locked On Vols on Twitter and Instagram. And, of course, you can find us on the YouTube channel. Okay, so what was your thoughts whenever it was announced that Tennessee would be on the road going to Ohio State? Mine was, okay, that was expected, right? That was expected. I did not think that Penn State was going to fall 6 spots because they were ranked, number 3 last week. I didn't think they were going to fall 6 spots to number 9 behind Tennessee in terms of the seed line because of their shortcoming in the Big Ten championship, 45-37. I thought that game proved that Oregon's defense is not all that in a bag of chips. Okay, I mean, we know Ohio State's defense is good. We know Tennessee's defense is good. We know Georgia's defense is pretty solid. We know Ole Miss that's not in the field is pretty good. But we know that Oregon's defense is not all that great. I'm not trying to take anything away from Penn State, but there's no way that they were going to punish Penn State down 6 spots for playing in an extra game and going, fighting tooth and nail and winning in a shootout or losing in a shootout to the number 1 team ranked in the country. So, going into Sunday morning, I was like, okay, I don't expect Penn State to fall behind Tennessee. Now, if you do the blind resume like Ari and Andy did over at On 3, you do the blind resume and say, well, this team did this team did this team did this. I mean, there's a true and real discussion there. But, of course, we're past the blind resume stuff, okay? Leading in really to the final rankings, Tuesday night of the season, the blind resume stuff's over. So that didn't shock me at all. Ohio State was idle. Okay, Ohio State did not fall below Tennessee last week in the rankings after losing by 3 points and scoring 10 points at home to a 7-5 Michigan team that is not very good. Okay, Ohio State did not fall past Tennessee in that regard, so we knew that was going to happen. Georgia beat Texas, okay, in overtime to win the SEC championship. We knew Texas was not going to fall all the way down past Tennessee, and of course, the thought of Georgia having 3 losses, being the loser of that game, falling, of course, that was null and void whenever Georgia went ahead and won the SEC championship. So really, this, to me, was expected. The drama of the day, and I don't know if you were like me, but I was up watching the end of that ACC championship. I was up watching the end of that Big Ten championship and seeing how SMU battled back tooth and nail, just couldn't find a way in, just couldn't cut it within a 1-possession game, just couldn't cut it with a 1-possession game. They get the 10 points, fall behind 17. Get the 10 points, fall behind 17. And finally, they come back and they tie it with less than a minute to go. And you're sitting there saying, okay, well, regardless of what happens, SMU is not going to be left out of the field in favor of Alabama. And all Vol fans rejoice and say amen that Alabama's not in the playoffs. And sure, there's conversations for Alabama's problem or Alabama's issue today could be your problem tomorrow. Sure, we'll get to that later on. But the fact of the matter is, sure, strength of schedules, not all schedules are created equally and all that. Alabama got not just beat, but Alabama got blitzed. Alabama got destroyed on the road against Oklahoma before the Iron Bowl there to end the season, okay? Alabama has nobody to blame but themselves. So once SMU made that comeback, and once SMU brought it within tie the football game, you knew that SMU was not going to be left out of the field, even if Clemson won and stole a bid. Clemson ended up winning last second field goal, surviving, stealing a bid, okay, and pushing Alabama out. Clemson actually goes in there number 12, doesn't jump SMU. SMU was ranked number 8. Clemson was number 17 entering this week. And so Clemson gets that automatic bid but doesn't jump SMU. So none of that really matters to Tennessee. Okay, that was the drama coming into this. But we kind of felt like, and I thought there were some hopes, and I thought there were some different avenues that Tennessee could eventually host. And sure, there were, but it just didn't play out that way. So it's unfortunate. Tennessee is a much better team at home than on the road. We know that. Tennessee, winning on the road is tough to do in the Southeastern Conference, and it's going to be tough to do with the Horseshoe. That is for dang sure. It's going to be chilly, and that's going to be the biggest talking point over the next couple of weeks, right? These Southern teams, SEC teams, the Tennessees of the world, going on the road in frigid Big Ten country, right? On December the 21st at 8 o'clock at night. It is going to be cold. Spoiler, it's going to be cold. But let's remember, Tennessee practices in the mornings. Tennessee just played in 30-degree weather at Vanderbilt. Sure, it's not the end-all be-all, but it's not, that's going to be talked up so much, and honestly, it shouldn't be that big of a deal, in my opinion. What's going to be a big deal is Ohio State's NFL talent at the perimeter. Ohio State having wide receivers like Jeremiah Smith, wide receivers like Emeka Egbuka. Did I get that correct? Wide receivers like Carnell Tate and Brandon Inus that we remember from the recruiting days. Running backs like Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, who is a fantastic 1-2 punch. And Will Howard, the quarterback, all he does is have to hand the football off and just throw it in the vicinity of a wide receiver to go make a play. Okay? The fact that Ohio State scored 10 points to a Michigan, the defense is pretty solid, okay, is inexcusable with all that NFL talent. And as you'll hear from Jay here in a moment, there were some serious issues on the offensive line. Seth McLaughlin, former Alabama center, was it Alabama or Georgia? Came from the SEC. I'm mind blanking on that. Alabama, really, really talented center. He, went out and he's out for the year. That happened a couple weeks ago. So they're having to shuffle some things around on that offensive line. There is going to be opportunity for Rodney Garner and this defensive line to lick their chops and go get it, right? Just go get it. I'm excited about that matchup. But that offense has the personnel scoring over 35 points a game. That offense has the personnel to be dangerous. The defense is really good. Starting at the edge with JT Tuimaluo. I mispronounced his name. I do apologize. Jack Sawyer. The linebackers, Sonny Styles, Cody Simon. Remember Caleb Downs? Oh, yeah. He was in the SEC just last year. He's at Ohio State now. Really, really good player. They're versatile. This is an all-around, well-oiled fashion machine. And think about it, guys. There's some time in between. I recognize that. But Ole Miss beat Georgia. Tennessee got the Bulldogs right after that. And Georgia was ready to go. This will be the next opponent for Ohio State after losing at home, being an upset, embarrassing fashion to your arch rival Michigan. Ohio State is going to be ready to roll. So my reaction, get ready, buckle up. This is what the expanded playoffs are all about. I wish there was a home game at Neyland Stadium so much. I do. But as a football fan, as a college football nut, and I know you are as well, this is what it's all about. I am so stoked to see a new environment. I am so stoked to go on the road and cover this game and to see what Big Ten life's all about. Can Tennessee win on the road? Sure it can. And we're gonna break down that matchup. We're gonna talk about that, throughout the next couple of weeks leading into kickoff. Absolutely. But I'm excited because this is the best part about what this expanded college football playoffs is all about. It is Tennessee. It is Ohio State. My reaction? Expected. My reaction going into Sunday, once Sunday, they announced that Tennessee was the 9 seed on the road playing at the 8 seed Ohio State. Expected. Felt like that was going to happen, okay? What was Ohio State's reaction? I'm going to talk with Jay Stevens. He's the host of Locked On Buckeyes when we return here on a Monday morning edition of Locked On Vols. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite, and right now you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com, plus score an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. Goodness gracious, okay? Site-wide, 50% off site-wide, plus an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. That is incredible right now. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and gifting experts at Omaha Steaks, they made it easy to deliver perfect gift and thoughtful, curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites, fresh legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more. Save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with a promo code college. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com. That is OMAHA steaks.com. An extra $30 off with promo code college. Minimum purchase may apply. So a big shout out to Omaha Steaks, and a big shout out to our friends over at Team Ticker. Over my right shoulder, you can see it. I forgot to turn it on before this recording, and I do apologize. That is my Tennessee Team Ticker, one-of-a-kind sports sign for college football fans. It is a 1.5 by 2 foot wall sign featuring the Power T. That is a cool, retro-looking LED display. The display is updated daily with fresh content and countdown to the next game, schedule, standing, stats, and news. It is a super fun way to stay connected to Tennessee and show your team spirit. Whether it's football, men's or women's basketball, baseball, soccer. What up, Lady Vols? Huge win in the Big Apple the other night. Softball, Team Ticker's got you covered. Never miss a game with a high-tech retro display. Provides a countdown to the next big game, as well as daily updates for latest team, news, stats, schedule, standings, and so much more. Using the content control section of your mobile app, it allows you to control the sports that you see with the remote control function. You can jump directly to any section of the content. Each sign is officially licensed, meeting high-quality standards, and is assembled by hand in the United States. Team Ticker is a one-of-a-kind sports sign. $50 off right now with a holiday sale. $50 off for a holiday sale right now at teamticker.com. Go to teamticker.com and get a $50 off holiday sale. That is at teamticker.com. Jay Stevens of Locked On Buckeyes joins us now here on Locked On Vols. And, of course, the announcement, Tennessee in the college football playoffs, the 9 seed on the road at 8 seeded Ohio State at the Horseshoe. And I think this is the best part about this new expanded playoffs, first-round home games. Now, Tennessee would rather play at home, but obviously going to go on the road. And Jay, kind of what's your immediate reaction to the matchup, the Buckeyes hosting the Vols in the first round?
I think it's a massive luxury for Ohio State, Eric, that they're playing in the shoe. It's one of those things that if you're one of the teams fortunate to play a home game in this format, it's huge because you're going up against a really good team, whoever you're playing, and you don't want to go on the road, especially in December when the weather can be back and forth, up and down, no matter where you're going. The Midwest, you already know it's probably going to be really, really cold. It could be brutally cold. It could be 20 degrees. So, like, all depends there. Also, if you're going to the South, that could be another animal to where, like, you don't normally go down South. So logistics can be a little bit different. Tennessee's not super far from Columbus. Knoxville isn't, but it's still one of those things where you're going to a place you're not familiar with. So it's a luxury for Ohio State to be playing at home. The matchup itself makes me a little bit nervous. I'm not going to lie to you. Ohio State, 10-2, done a lot of great things this year. But also there are some errors on certain units of the team, some position units that I think Tennessee can exploit. So day of the selection show, I'm kind of curious to see how the coaches go back and forth in that chess match.
So you mentioned there's some areas where you think Tennessee can exploit. What are those areas?
The Buckeyes' offensive line. It's one that's been banged up. Seth McLaughlin he's out for the year towards Achilles.
Only 12 sacks, though, right? And I know the center is a huge loss, and you're exactly right. But I was looking at the stats earlier, 5 yards a pop, only 12 sacks allowed. That looks, on paper, that looks pretty good.
It does, but I think the expectations in Columbus are a little bit higher than what you might see on paper. Because of Quinshon Judkins and Trevion Henderson, those guys should be having no issue running the ball. They've had issues running the ball. There's been games where one guy pops off, the other guy doesn't. There's been games where neither guy can get going in the run game. And it's not just the Michigan game where everyone's going to look at the last time Ohio State played like, oh, you went up against a good defensive front. Nebraska, Indiana, there were times even in those games, good rush defenses can force Ohio State to not run the ball consistently. So I see the sack numbers. But with Ohio State being in the playoff and Ryan Day saying that the Buckeyes offensive line might be reshuffled again. There's a couple guys that hadn't started all year, hadn't started as Buckeyes at all. And all of a sudden, Ryan Day is saying, well, they are competing to start. Sir, we're a couple weeks away before the biggest game of the year. Sorry, Ryan Day annoys me, dude. Sorry. But I'm like, you're a couple weeks away from the biggest game of the year, and all of a sudden you're saying, well, we're going to try and reshuffle the offensive line. It's already been reshuffled. It's already banged up. It's already has some issues. And playing guys that haven't started out at all in college football, to me, that sounds very stupid. It sounds like a recipe for a disaster. And Ryan Day's already done some things that are very questionable during his tenure at Ohio State. And if he rolls in there with a new center or a new guard, that could be a recipe for a disaster.
Obviously, the Michigan loss stinging Ohio State fans.
Yes, it is. It is.
Another loss to Michigan. Obviously, the center has to be replaced and has been for the last couple of weeks. But what are some of those other shufflings that we could see on the offensive line? Like, who would, I guess what I'm trying to say is, what starter would be replaced potentially for, like you said, the biggest game of the year?
So, based off the game against Michigan, the only true option, well, there's three options: left guard, left tackle, left guard, center, and potentially right guard. I'm not sure what they're going to do with the right guard. They may put Josh Padilla in at center, which I think Hinsman's done well enough to play. You move Hinsman to right guard. There's 4 positions. That's just how crazy this thing is. It sounds dumb. You could have a new left tackle, left guard, center, and right guard. Hinsman was a center. He could go to right guard. Donovan Jackson started at left guard. He's been playing left tackle. He might go to left guard. You might bring in Luke Montgomery to play left tackle, and then Josh Padilla, who's been a backup all year long, to play center. I apologize for confusing everybody by the way I laid that out, because as I started talking, I realized it doesn't make any sense at all to put guys in that haven't played at all, to move things that if the coaches got out of their own way, the O-line that played Michigan could have played well enough to win that game. So it wasn't the players' fault. I'm not putting all of it on the coach, on the players. I know that some of those guys shouldn't be starting. Injuries have hit the team very hard in this unit, but the coach has gotten in the way. And that's my fear about this game. As well as Ohio State is at their best, sometimes the coaches get in the way, and that could happen when Tennessee comes to town.
When you look at this offense, really good. We know about the defense, and I'll get to that here in a moment. But Will Howard, he's got so many weapons. The 1-2 punch in the backfield with Judkins and Henderson is fantastic. You've got wide receivers all over the place, and Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith. What's the other receiver's name? I don't want to mispronounce his name.
Emeka Buka.
There we go, Emeka Buka. Okay. Yeah,
smart man.
So many weapons. So for Ohio State to be at its best offensively, is it truly all about the quarterback, Will Howard, to make the right decisions, make the throws, and just let his guys go make plays?
It's a combination of the O-line and Will Howard. Okay. I think those go hand in hand. I think if Will Howard does his job well at an elite level, it means the offensive line is doing their job at an elite level. And I think those two things will go hand in hand. When we saw against Michigan used a different defense that I think Will Howard was expecting, and he couldn't figure it out. Also, I think his internal clock kind of got sped up, which led to numerous issues. But also, he couldn't run the ball. So even if Will Howard Will Howard was doing the things, he could read the defense, not being able to run the ball well hurts Will Howard's effectiveness on the football field. So I get the weapons on the outside. A lot of it is Will Howard being able to manage the offense correctly and smoothly. And he normally bounces back, and he normally keeps his poise. I don't know how it's going to handle in this game, because he's not one of the top 5, top 10 quarterbacks in the country. He has his own flaws. And if he is able to get the ball out to the outside like he needs to the 3 receivers, or get the ball to the guys in the backfield, that's going to be great. But I say it goes with the O-line, because I don't know what to expect from the O-line in a few weeks. Not because of the O-line's fault. I don't know what the coaches are going to put them in, the scenarios are going to put them in, and if they put them in crazy scenarios, it could be bad for Ohio State. I hate to be negative, man. Ryan Day's been pissing me off a lot lately, and so that kind of goes with some of my thoughts about the game. Ohio State's good enough to win. I don't know if the coaches will coach the right game for Ohio State to win.
You know, it's interesting. I want to ask about the defense, but kind of on that note, and I'll say briefly here, this might not be an answer you can briefly summarize. Mm-hmm. As crazy as it sounds from an outsider's perspective, okay, from a guy that, covers Tennessee and Knoxville, is the only way Ryan Day returns as the head coach of the Buckeyes if he wins the national championship, or is he going to look to go somewhere else just because of all the frustrations and, of course, not being able to beat Michigan? And that sounds crazy because Ohio State's one of the best teams in the country, but it feels like from an outsider's perspective, that's exactly what's going to happen.
I don't think for Ryan Day it's a natty or bust for him to keep his job.
Okay.
I could easily see Ryan Day at Ohio State being 1 and done, being 2 and done, or winning the national championship. And if they go 1 and done, I don't think he's fired. I do think that Ryan Day could be a coach that could be looking for something else.
Yeah.
Just being honest with you. I saw his body language after that Michigan loss. It didn't seem like a man that was fully locked into the role. Not saying he is or he isn't, but just by the body language that I'm reading, something's going on up there in his head that could be, man, something has to be fixed, or I'm trying to leave Columbus. I don't know, but I do not think it's a natty or bust for Ryan Day to keep his job.
All right, that defense, man. Why is that defense so good? On paper, really good ends, really good linebackers, a solid secondary. What makes this defense one of the better defenses in all of college football?
You have guys that are pros at every level, from the defensive line and Tyleik Williams and Tui Maloa and Sawyer to the linebacker play that's gotten a whole lot better the last half of the year with Cody Simon and Sonny Styles. And Caleb Downs, you know what he can do on the football field. You know how great he is. And I think the second half of the year, now Caleb Downs has just been great regardless, don't get me wrong. But they started putting him in scenarios, allowed him to be more free on the football field to make all the plays he needs to. And it's just been fun. It's just been great to see Caleb Downs be that guy. Ohio State in the defense, they have guys at every single position that are elite college football players. And that's just a quick way to summarize how well this defense has played.
Last thing, man, what should Tennessee fans, of course, with the allotment of tickets that are going to be sold, secondary markets are going to be popping. There's not a whole lot of tickets to go around for the Big Orange. But for Tennessee fans that are going to be going and making the trip and checking out this football game in a couple of weeks, what should we expect in the shoe? What's that home field advantage going to look like? The crowd? What are some of the things that we should do leading up to kickoff? Kind of set the scene in terms of what this is going to look like, because there's a lot of great atmospheres in the SEC, but I'm truly, like I told you off air, man, I'm pumped about going and seeing this game.
This game is one that if I'm a Tennessee fan, I'm trying to just use my Christmas money. I'm not saying don't buy a gift for someone you love. I'm not saying use that money, but if you got money in your savings account, pull it out, go to the secondary market, and go to the game. It's not a super far trip, so I would say go. The shoe is it's a fun venue, 100,000 plus seat venue, and it wouldn't shock me if it breaks a seating capacity record, 110 or whatever, because Tennessee fans travel very well. Get there early. I will say get there early, but also not only get there early, Ohio State fans are going to be rowdy. It might be a tense Ohio State crowd, and I know that Tennessee fans are excited about their team. Ohio State fans are as well. I know that I sound a little negative or a little Debbie Downer here on the show. It's only because of Ryan Day and some things we heard today during his press conference. I do think this will be possibly the best game of the first round. And with it being the last game of the first round, Tennessee fans show up, show out, and be loud for your team. I'm not an Ohio State guy that's going to say no, be quiet, be very, very loud. Enjoy the tailgating, enjoy the scenes, the sights, the sounds. It's probably not going to be crazy cold, about 25, 26 degrees at kickoff, which is a whole lot better than the 10 that I was expecting for the middle of December. But get there, have fun, enjoy the food, enjoy the sights and sounds, enjoy Columbus, Ohio.
Luckily, Tennessee played in 30-degree weather in the last game of the regular season, but it is going to be cold. That is for sure. Jay, appreciate it, man. Hey, Tennessee fans, if you want to learn more about Ohio State leading up to kickoff, we got a couple weeks. Check out Locked On Buckeyes. Jay has been a host with the network, I think, longer than I have, and so he knows this stuff. He does a fantastic job. So, Jay, we're definitely going to link up again leading up to the game, man. Thanks so much.
No problem, Eric. I enjoyed it.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every single moment more with FanDuel. It's an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. It's America's number one sportsbook, and FanDuel is where you can make every moment more. FanDuel. All right, guys, I wanted to end this Monday show by just kind of having not a coming to Jesus moment or anything, but just kind of a time of reflection, okay? Let's just kind of sit back here and think about this. I started doing the show. Let's go back in the Wayback Machine. Let's pull back the curtain a little bit. January-ish 2021. Okay, I was almost 2 years into dating my now wife, so there's that. I was working at the radio station, The Sports Animal. Love my job in radio. Love radio to this day. Okay, that is a passion of mine. It's never going to go away. I love radio. That's why I love podcasting so much. But I love radio. I was making no money. I was making absolutely no money, and I was having about 17 different jobs, and I was trying to make ends meet. And Josh Ward, you guys may know him from Ward Wednesday, but you OGs of Locked On Vols, you guys know Josh used to host this bad boy, and I used to come on, and I didn't have a weekly segment, but I was a guest for Josh several times whenever he hosted the show. Even dating back to when Josh did the show at SEC Country and did it on his own a little bit. There's a lot of you, and you've told me before, you guys have listened to what this show is, Locked On Vols, dating back to before it was called Locked On Vols with Josh. And Josh came to me, he's like, hey man, life's getting busy. I've got 3 kids. I don't think I can continue doing this show, but I want it to be in good hands, and I want it to continue to thrive and be successful. Would you have any interest in taking over as host of Locked On Vols? And I'm like, number one, it's a platform into a new demo. Number two, it's money, guys, and I'm very appreciative. I make money. I get to do this. This is a large portion of my income yearly, and I'm so that when I say I'm thankful, I seriously mean it. I know sometimes it goes in it one ear out the other, and you just kind of roll your eyes, maybe, but truly I'm thankful because I get to do this for a living. And so I was like, hell yeah, let's go. Let's do this. It's another platform. It's a chance for me to grow. It's a chance for me to, sharpen my skills and make some money. Heck yeah, let's roll. He was like, okay, well, let me get past this coaching search, and then it can be yours. Josh wanted to take advantage and try to get all the juice out of that squeeze of the coaching search. I don't blame him. And so he did the coaching search and all that. And then finally, when Josh Heupel is hired, he does a couple more shows. Then boom, February 1st, I think was my first official start, 2021. The show was mine. And I'm taking over a show where it's a brand new head coach, and the program is about to be just pounded by the NCAA for alleged allegations. The program was a laughing stock in college football. Okay. Ratings wise, it was fine because everybody was upset, and people in radio, it's the same as radio, the same over at VolQuest.com. We call them angry clicks, happy clicks, angry listens, happy listens, ratings, numbers. They're never as good as when things are going great or when things are going poorly, right? And so like numbers and ratings wise, it was fine when I took over, but it truly was, it was like, okay, well, Tennessee's starting over. And who is Josh Heupel? Will this quirky offense work in the Southeastern Conference? Will he certainly score as many points as he does at at UCF, and knowing that he had offensive coordinator experience at Missouri in this league, and of course Oklahoma before that. What's this going to look like? How's he going to recruit? There were so many questions, and you had just come off a 2-8 season in this COVID-shortened 2020 year. And so many players, over 30 players to be exact, left for the transfer portal. You were short numbers-wise at positions. It was an uphill climb. Just think about where you were as a Tennessee football fan at the beginning of February 2021. Now think of where you are today. It's incredible, right? I mean, the turnaround, 2021 came out of nowhere. And sure, 2022 to be more exact came out of nowhere, but truly in the same sense, as surprised as we all were for Tennessee to knock down Alabama that year, to go on the road and just drill LSU, to win 10 games in the regular season, to go to the Orange Bowl, to beat a team like Clemson at the time was coming off the top of, coming on the other end of the hill rather, but they had owned the college football world for quite some time. To knock off a team like Clemson in the Orange Bowl that year, that came out of nowhere. But think about 2021 where Tennessee finished 7-5 in the regular season. Josh Heupel should have been coach of the year. Josh Heupel should have been coach of the year in the Southeastern Conference for what he did that year in 2021. Winning games, becoming bowl eligible. I remember sitting here in that coaching search of 2021 before Josh Heupel was hired, and National media members were saying Tennessee's not going to be bowl eligible for maybe 4 or 5 years. It's going to take so much time to replenish at each position, and it hasn't been easy. We saw Tennessee play the 21 season with 3 linebackers. We saw Tennessee be shortchanged at positions like safety and at running back at times and on the offensive line at times. The numbers have been thin. But because of the coaching, because of the culture that's been set in place, because you hit on a couple of key transfers, and hate Jeremy Pruitt all you want, boys and girls. He brought Hendon Hooker into this program. And make no mistakes about it. You need a quarterback to win a national championship. You need a quarterback to turn things around. And Tennessee's Hendon Hooker hit. And sure, Josh Heupel coached him up. And I mean, it takes a village, don't get me wrong. But, Heupel had Hendon, and that helped accelerate some things. But he also hit on the transfer portal and did this and did that and brought this player in, brought this player in, brought this coach in. Think of the job that Tennessee's done since 2021. And now, almost 3 years to the day, couple months, right? You are on the doorstep, and you got your seating, and you're about to play in your first college football playoff game in program history. How about that? How cool is that? You get an opportunity to play for a college playoff championship, for a natty. The turnaround's been incredible. Sure, there's been some bumps along the way, and there should have won that game. You should have won that game, and Heupel made the wrong call here, and Tim Banks did this, and Nico did this, and Joe did this. There's been times of frustration along the way. Too many penalties, red zone issues. I hear you. But the turnaround from January 2021 to December the 9th, 2024, when you sit, 11 days away from playing in the college football playoffs, it is truly incredible. So, for all you Locked On Vols everydayers that have been with me all throughout that step of the way, congratulations. If you're new to the show, congratulations. If you're a Tennessee fan tuning into this show for the very first time, but you've been a Tennessee fan throughout this entire process and the 13 years prior where you went through the desert, congratulations. Your team is about to play in the college football playoffs. And sure, you'd like to play in Neyland Stadium, but you go on the road and win at the Shoe? Hello, Rose Bowl. Man, exciting times. Get in those questions, get in those comments, get in those concerns. @_Cainer at Locked On Vols. Fill up the YouTube channel here with your questions. We'll answer those for you every dayers on tomorrow's show. It is 9-seed Tennessee on the road at 8-seed Ohio State. Saturday, December 21st at 8 o'clock on ESPN. Is it ESPN? I'll get that later. Buckle up. It's time for the playoffs. This is Locked On Vols.